The stars were calm. Inside the Galactic Union Hall, lights floated in the air like slow fireflies. Every major alien race had a seat here. Tall, thin creatures with glowing eyes, large insect-like beings with many arms, and soft-skinned species that spoke only in mind waves, all watched as the human representative stepped forward. He wore a black suit with a silver Earth badge on his chest. His name was Elias Stone, and he was known across the stars as the Voice of Peace. Elias raised his hand, and silence filled the hall. "My friends," he began, "we came to the stars, to join, not to rule. We came to build trust, not walls. But something is changing. Borders are rising again. Fear is growing. And I ask, who is pushing us toward war?" Many aliens nodded. Some looked away. Deep inside, the galaxy was uneasy. In the past year, human trade ships had been attacked, colonies threatened, and allies lost. Earth had sent warnings, but no one had answered. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A low alarm echoed once, then died. Elias paused. "What's happening?" he asked. Before anyone could answer, a group of armored figures dropped from the ceiling. They were not from any known race. They wore black and red armor with no symbols. Silent and fast, they landed around Elias. One pulled out a long weapon. Elias turned, his eyes wide, not with fear, but with understanding. "You're making a mistake," he said softly. The weapon fired. The sound was small, a flash of light, then silence. Elias fell to his knees. His eyes stared ahead. Then he collapsed, face first, in front of the Galactic Council. Screams broke out. Security forces rushed in, but the attackers vanished into thin air. Some disappeared through portals, others used cloaking fields. Within seconds, they were gone. Only the body of Ambassador Elias Stone remained. The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, every corner of the galaxy saw the video. Millions watched in shock as Elias was murdered live inside the most protected building in the universe. Who were the attackers? No one knew. No species claimed responsibility. No race stood up to say, "We did it." Some alien leaders sent words of regret. Others stayed silent. The Galactic Council opened an investigation, but everyone knew it would lead nowhere. Too many hands were dirty. Too many eyes were closed. Peace had been murdered along with the man who spoke for it. Back on Earth, the cities went quiet. People stood still in front of giant screens. Some cried. Others clenched their fists. Soldiers returned to base. Satellites reactivated. Silent machines under the sea began to hum. Deep underground, far beneath the red sands of Mars, a signal was sent. It was a short signal, only 3 words, code Black Sun. On Mars, hidden inside a mountain, a massive door opened for the first time in 80 years. Dust fell like snow. Lights turned on one by one, glowing blue in the darkness. Inside the secret base, giant tubes lined the walls. Inside each tube floated a human. Not just any human. These were enhanced beings, stronger, smarter, faster than anyone on Earth. They had no homes, no past. They were created only for one purpose: war. A computer voice echoed through the chamber. "Black Sun protocol activated. All units wake up." In the central pod, a man opened his eyes. His left eye glowed silver. Metal lines ran through his skin. His name was Commander Rael. He had not spoken a word in 40 years. His voice, when it returned, was cold and calm. "Who died?" he asked. The AI responded, "Ambassador Elias Stone." Rael said nothing. He stepped out of the pod. His feet touched the ground. The floor shifted, scanning his body. "Mission?" he asked. "Justice," the AI replied. Far above the Martian surface, Earth's military command watched the signal. some of the commanders argued. "We can't release them," one said. "They are too dangerous." Another replied, "Do you think the galaxy will respect kindness now? They killed our voice. They left us no choice." Back in the Black Sun base, soldiers began to move. Weapons were prepared. Old ships, hidden under the Martian surface, were brought online. No flags were painted on them, no names, only black steel and silence. In the far corners of the galaxy, aliens talked nervously. Some said Earth would attack everyone. Others said Earth would do nothing. But a few, those who truly knew humans, said something different. "They are not angry," one elder alien whispered. "They are focused. That is much, much worse." On a dark moon near a Varnock trade route, a small alien ship was suddenly pulled out of space. The pilot screamed as a human voice came through the comms. "Tell your masters, you took one of ours. Now we come for you." Commander Rail stood inside a warship's command room. Around him stood other Black Sun members, each one a living weapon. He looked at the stars and whispered to himself, "They killed peace. Now they'll meet what we've hidden for far too long." And with that, the humans went dark. No signals. No messages. Only silence. But the galaxy felt it. Something was coming. Something human. Something dangerous. And this time, humanity wasn't coming to talk. Under the surface of Mars, the ancient systems of Project Black Sun came alive. For decades, the base had slept, buried deep under red rock and silence. Now, lights flashed. Walls shook gently as old machines turned back on. Inside the central control room, Commander Rail stood like a shadow reborn. He looked around at the awakening soldiers. They stepped out of their pods one by one, steam rising from their armored suits. These were not normal humans. Their bodies had been modified, with advanced tech, stronger bones, faster muscles, sharper minds. Their eyes glowed faintly, like quiet fire. "Report," Rail said. The AI responded in a flat voice. "All 26 Black Sun operatives are awake, systems at 89% power, weapon bays locked, awaiting command." Rail nodded slowly. "Begin readiness checks. We move soon." Back on Earth, panic was spreading behind closed doors. The public mourned Elias Stone, but the leaders feared something worse, the activation of Black Sun. Only a few in the government even knew it existed. It was created long ago after humanity's first contact with hostile alien races. It was meant as a last resort, never to be used unless Earth itself was at risk. But now, an ambassador had been murdered. The symbol of peace had been destroyed in front of the whole galaxy, and Earth had been left humiliated. Inside the United, "Earth Command Chamber," voices argued over each other. "This is a mistake," shouted one general. "Black Sun is unstable." Another general slammed her hand on the table. "What do you want us to do? Sit and wait while more humans are killed?" The president of Earth stood silently. Then she said, "Send no more messages. Let Rail do what we made him for." Meanwhile, in the orbit of Saturn, a hidden dock opened. From the shadows came a long black ship. It had no name, no ID code. Its body was covered with sensor-blocking panels. It gave off no heat, no sound, and no light. It was called the Eclipse. Inside the ship, Rail watched the stars through a narrow glass panel. A map floated before him, showing known Varnock colonies. The Varnock had denied involvement in Elias's death, but Rail didn't believe it. His instincts told him the truth was buried somewhere inside the outer colonies of the Varnock Empire. "Target?" asked a young operative named Mira. Rael pointed at a small moon near the edge of Varnock space. "Here, a quiet trade station, not military. But I want answers." As the ship moved into deep space, the operatives sat in silence. No laughter, no music, only calm breathing and quiet hands checking weapons. They were not going to war. Not yet. This was a warning mission. A test. The Eclipse dropped out of light speed above the Varnock moon. There was no time for the alien station to react. Human tech was far more advanced than most species knew. Within seconds, Earth's warriors were inside the station, silent and fast. The aliens screamed as doors exploded, but Black Sun didn't kill anyone. They moved through the halls, capturing leaders, scanning files, and placing strange black devices on walls. These devices glowed red, then vanished, leaving behind a message burned into the metal. "We are not your enemy, unless you make us one." Commander Rail stood in the central chamber of the station. The alien governor, a trembling creature with 4 legs and wide yellow eyes, looked up at him. "I don't know who killed your ambassador," he shouted. "We were ordered to stay quiet. That's all I know." Rail leaned closer. "Who gave the order?" "I don't know," the alien cried. "The message came from the outer command, no names." Rail scanned his face and saw truth. He turned and left without a word. In less than 10 minutes, the humans vanished. No one saw how they escaped. No one could track them. They left behind no bodies, no blood, only fear. Word spread fast. The station sent emergency signals to the Varnock homeworld. Soldiers arrived, but there was nothing to fight. Just the burned message. Back on the Eclipse, Rail watched the data collected from the station. His eyes narrowed. "Varnock Outer Command," he said. "They're hiding something." He pressed a button, sending a secure message back to Earth. "We begin Phase 2. Evidence points to Outer Varnock Military Council. Request permission to engage deeper." The reply came quickly. "Approved. Proceed with caution. Do not start a war, unless it has already started." Meanwhile, across the stars, fear spread like wildfire. Other alien races began to panic. Some leaders called emergency meetings. Others sent private messages to Earth offering support or asking for peace. But one race did not speak. The Varnock stayed silent. In their hidden command chambers, far from the light of stars, Varnock generals met in the dark. One old general, his skin gray and rough, stared at the human reports. "They should have broken," he said. "Humans were supposed to cry for peace." Another general shook his head. "They didn't break. They changed." The old one growled. "We need to prepare our own secret weapon. If Earth has awoken its monsters, we must awaken ours." Somewhere in the darkness of space, 2 shadows now moved. One human, one alien. Both deadly, both hidden, and both heading toward a storm. That would shake the galaxy. The game had begun, and peace was no longer on the table. Commander Rael stood alone in the strategy room of the Eclipse. Around him, glowing blue lines formed a map of Varnock space. He traced his finger slowly over the path they had taken. So far, no direct resistance. But the silence, it was too perfect. The Varnock were preparing something. Behind him, Mira stepped in. "We found something strange," she said. "A Varnock relay station picked up a deep space signal, but it didn't come from us. It came from inside their own borders." Rail turned. "What kind of signal?" She pressed a button. A recording played, a low, pulsing tone followed by 3 words in an ancient Earth dialect. "Release the Fang." Rail's eyes narrowed. He hadn't heard that phrase in over 50 years. The Fang was a Varnock myth, an old experimental war. Machine, a legend, or so he thought. "Where did the signal go?" he asked. "It bounced through a black site in the Draylen Nebula," Mira answered. "We checked. That system doesn't appear on any maps. Not even Varnock trade routes go there." Rail stared at the nebula on the map. A red fog surrounded that area like a curse. "Then that's where we go." The Eclipse jumped into the Draylen Nebula the next hour. As it exited light speed, alarms rang softly. The ship shook. Thick clouds of red and purple gas swirled around them. Visibility was low. Strange energy readings came from every direction. Rael sat in the command chair. Keep shield steady, no lights, silent mode. The crew obeyed. No one spoke. Then Mira gasped. Commander, we found it! Ahead of them floated a massive station, hidden deep inside the nebula. It had no lights, no movement, but it was huge, easily the size of a moon. The outer shell was black, like burned stone. It looked dead, but the sensors said otherwise. There's power inside, Mira whispered. Rael leaned forward. Prepare infiltration team. We're going in. Minutes later, Rael, Mira, and 4 others slipped into the station using a stealth pod. They entered through a broken hangar bay. Inside, the place was dark and cold. The walls were made of strange metal. Symbols glowed faintly, not in Varnock language, but something older. As they moved deeper, they saw things that made their blood turn cold. Giant tubes lined the walls, filled with liquid and floating bodies. Not Varnock, not human. Something else. Something created. Experiments, one soldier muttered. They were building something here. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A low growl echoed through the hallway. Rael raised his fist. Everyone froze. From the darkness ahead, something stepped out. It was tall, over 3 meters. Its body was covered in black armor with glowing red veins. Its head was shaped like a wolf, but robotic. Its eyes were 2 burning red lights. It stared at them. Then it spoke in a deep, broken voice. You should not have come. Rael didn't blink. What are you? The thing tilted its head. I was the Fang. Now I am the end. Without warning, it charged. Blasters fired. The thing moved too fast. It hit one soldier and sent him flying into the wall. Bones cracked. Another tried to throw a shock grenade, but it was too late. The creature disappeared in a blur, reappeared behind him, and slammed him into the floor. Rael pulled out a pulse blade and attacked. Sparks flew as he clashed with the creature, blow after blow. Rael was strong, but the Fang was something else. It was faster than anything he had fought before. Fall back! Rael shouted. Mira hit a switch and dropped a sonic mine. The blast echoed, shaking the hallway. The Fang screamed and stumbled. In that moment, the team escaped into the next chamber and locked the doors behind them. Heavy breathing filled the air. That thing, Mira said. It's not just a weapon. It's alive. Rael looked around the chamber. It was a control room. He went to the main terminal and began scanning files. Ancient data appeared. Plans, tests, reports. The truth was worse than he imagined. The Varnock didn't just build the Fang, he said. They built an army. Hundreds, maybe thousands, locked in stasis, waiting to be released, and now one had woken up. Mira looked at him. What do we do? Rael's eyes were cold. We burn this place to the ground. Back on the Eclipse, the ship detected power building inside the station. Engines turning on, weapons waking up. Rael's voice came through the comms. Prepare missiles. Target core reactor. The ship's captain hesitated. But, sir, you're still inside. No choice, Rael replied. This ends now. Outside, the ship charged its cannons. Inside, Rael placed charges on the main reactor. The Fang was coming. Its steps grew louder. The walls trembled. Mira looked at Rael. We're not going to make it. Rael gave her a small smile. That's not the point. Just before the Fang reached them, Rael hit the final button. The station exploded. A shock wave tore through the nebula. From space, it looked like a star had died. Silence followed. On Earth, the president received the message. Draylen Base destroyed. The Fang existed. One survived. We stopped it. But this war, it has already begun. And far away, in another hidden chamber, another creature opened its eyes. Its voice was soft, almost curious. Human contact confirmed. Phase 2 begins. The debris of the Drayland station floated silently in the red fog of the nebula. Pieces of metal, broken labs, and shattered tubes spun slowly in space. No light, no life. It looked like the war had been stopped before it began. But deep inside, the floating wreckage, something moved. A sharp claw twitched. The last piece of the Fang's body drifted, half torn, missing limbs, but still alive. Its eyes blinked red. Weak power returned to its damaged core. It activated emergency systems. It began to heal. The Fang was not dead. Meanwhile, back on the Eclipse, the crew sat in silence. The entire station had been destroyed. Rael and Mira were gone. Two of Earth's finest Black Sun operatives had sacrificed themselves to stop the weapon, or so they thought. Suddenly, a signal came from a small escape pod drifting through the nebula. "Life sign detected," the pilot shouted. "It's Rael!" The crew rushed to bring the pod inside. The door opened with a hiss, and Rael stepped out. His armor was cracked, his face was bleeding, but he was alive. Mira was beside him, unconscious but breathing. "How? Did you survive?" the captain asked. Rael's voice was cold. "We jumped into a test pod before the charges blew. No time to explain. We need to return to Earth." The captain nodded. "Understood." As the ship prepared for jump, Rael went to the control room. He looked out the window at the remains of the station. He didn't feel victory. He felt something worse: uncertainty. That Fang. It had spoken like it knew him. How? Across the galaxy, the Varnock Empire had entered full lockdown. Military ships flew in formation across their space. Civilian colonies were scanned. All information about the Fang project was locked under the highest security. Inside a deep Varnock mountain base, their high command met in secret. One general slammed his fist on the table. "You promised the humans would break," another shouted. "You promised the Fang would not wake up. Now the humans know everything." The scientist in charge of the project, a thin and pale Varnock named Vrelik, bowed his head. "I underestimated their reach and their memory." The High Commander, a creature with black skin and 4 glowing eyes, leaned forward. "Can it still be controlled?" Vrelik paused. "No, not anymore. It's awake now. And it remembers the old war." That word, old war, sent a chill through the room. Long before peace, before embassies and trade deals, humans and Varnock had clashed in secret battles. Earth had erased most of it from the records, but not all of it. That's why Black Sun was created. And maybe that's why the Fang had been made, to match humanity's dark side. But something had gone wrong. The Fang didn't follow orders. It didn't care about sides anymore. It was something else now. Back on Earth, Rael stood in front of the United Earth Council. His body was wrapped in bandages. His voice was sharp, calm. "You were right to fear the Fang. But what you don't understand is this. The Varnock didn't fully control it. In fact, I believe they were afraid of it too." The president looked at him. "Then why create it at all?" Rael answered. "Because they believed we would one day bring war to them. They feared us, and now they've woken the very thing they can't stop." The room fell silent. Another general spoke. "Then what do we do?" Rael looked at them, his eyes cold and bright. "We prepare for war, not with the Varnock, but with something worse, something older, something born from both our sins." Meanwhile, the surviving Fang dragged its broken body into a hidden transport vessel buried inside the nebula. It activated the controls with shaking hands. Its systems were damaged. Its memory was unstable. But one thing burned in its mind: Rael. The name echoed like thunder in its mind. It remembered Earth. It remembered pain. It remembered being created to match a specific human soldier. It remembered Rael. And now, it had a new mission. Find him. As it flew through space in silence, something inside it changed. It began to rewrite its code. It began to think beyond its programming. It began to evolve. Black Sun was built by humans to destroy any threat. The Fang was built by the Varnock to destroy Black Sun. But now, the Fang had no master. It had only purpose, and it would not stop. Not until Rael was found, and not until it answered the one question burning in its code. Why am I still alive? Far across the stars, deep in another galaxy, a third party watched quietly. A hidden alien race, unknown to both Varnock and humans. They had seen the activation of Black Sun. They had detected the energy of the Fang, and they whispered to each other, in fear. Phase 1 has failed. Phase 2 has begun. The galaxy will burn unless we intervene. But they were not ready to reveal themselves. Not yet. Because even they were afraid of what was coming. The stars outside the eclipse moved slowly as the ship returned to Earth. Inside, Rael stood in the armory room, alone. He looked at his damaged armor, burnt, cracked, covered in black blood. The memories of the Fang still played in his mind. It wasn't just fast. It wasn't just strong. It was personal. It spoke like it knew him. But how? Mira entered quietly. She had recovered, but her eyes showed deep fear. I found something, she said. Rael turned. Mira handed him a small black chip. We pulled this from the Fang's data trail. It was hiding in the system logs, encrypted, old-style code. Rael inserted the chip into the private terminal. Lines of strange code scrolled across the screen, but Mira had already decrypted it. A message appeared in red. Unit 07, Mirror Protocol activated. Target, Commander Rael Core. Reason, genetic match. Mission, eliminate. Rael stared at the screen. Genetic match? Mira nodded slowly. I think it was made using your DNA. Rael froze. Long ago, when he joined Black Sun, he had given samples for security access and combat tuning. But this meant the Varnock had stolen his DNA. They hadn't just created a weapon to fight humanity, they had made a clone of him, but twisted, stronger, faster, angrier. A weapon built in his image, and now, hunting him. The ship landed on Earth within the hour. Rael and Mira were taken to the Black Sun facility, deep underground, below the Arctic ice. No windows, no way in or out without clearance. It was the most secure place on the planet, or so they thought. As Rael met with Earth's Defense Council, alarms suddenly screamed through the facility. Emergency lights flashed red, doors locked, soldiers ran through the halls. Then came the voice. It echoed through every speaker, deep and cold. You cannot hide from yourself. Rael's eyes widened. It's here. The Fang had arrived, but how? Above ground, a small ship floated silently. It had no engine signature, no heat. It was invisible to sensors. It landed in the snow without a sound. A single figure stepped out, tall, armored, glowing with red veins. It walked toward the hidden entrance. Turrets opened fire. The Fang vanished in a blink, appeared behind them, and crushed them into pieces. Inside the base, Mira pulled Rael to the side. We need to reach the vault. The cryo room. Rael nodded. If it's after me, I'll give it what it wants. As the Fang tore through the facility, Rael and Mira reached the cryo vault. The room was filled with frozen test subjects. Failed. Super soldiers, lost experiments, and one special pod. Subject 0. Inside the pod was something Rael hadn't seen in years. A man, a human, just like him, unmoving, cryo-frozen. His face was nearly identical to Rael's, but older, angrier, Mira. stared at it. "What is this?" Rael spoke slowly. "Before Black Sun was made, there was Project Echo, a secret clone initiative. This was the first attempt, but it failed. He was too unstable, so they froze him." Mira looked shocked. "You never told anyone?" "I thought it was shut down," Rael said. "But if the Varnock got access to this data, they might have used it to build the Fang." Suddenly, the wall exploded. Smoke filled the room. Sparks rained down. The Fang stepped through the hole, eyes locked on Rael. Rael stepped forward, calm. "You want me, then take me." But the Fang didn't attack. It looked at the frozen clone. Then it looked at Rael. Then it said something strange. "I am not your enemy. I am your result." Rael didn't understand. "What do you mean?" The Fang pointed at the frozen clone. "He is the beginning. You are the middle. I am the end." The lights flickered. Then everything went dark. Outside the facility, above the clouds, a new ship appeared, sleek, smooth, and glowing blue. It was not human. It was not Varnock. It was something else. Inside, alien eyes watched the scene unfold. One of them turned to the others and said, "Contact is made. Balance is broken. The cycle begins again." Back in the cryo room, the Fang looked at Rael one last time. Then it said, "Others are coming. I am only the warning." Before Rael could speak, the Fang activated a teleport device and vanished. The silence that followed was terrifying. Rael stood there, shaking. Mira put a hand on his shoulder. "What does this mean?" she asked. Rael whispered, "It means we've been looking at the wrong threat. The Varnock didn't unleash the Fang." He turned to the stars above. "Someone else did." Far above Earth, the strange blue ship floated in silence. Inside, the beings were tall, thin, with crystal-like skin that shimmered like starlight. They had no mouths, no eyes, but they could see everything. They were the Kareel, an ancient race older than the Varnock, older than even the stars. They had been watching for centuries, and now they had seen enough. A single word appeared on their control screen, written in their own glowing language: "Intervene." On Earth, Rael stood at the edge of the Arctic cliff, looking up at the night sky. The stars looked peaceful. But he knew better now. Something bigger was coming. The Fang was just the beginning. Beside him, Mira stood quietly. "You think it will return?" Rael didn't answer right away. Then he said, "It wasn't here to kill me. Not yet. It was testing something. Testing itself." Mira looked confused. "But why warn us? Why talk about others?" Rael turned to her. "Because something created it. Not just the Varnock. Something else used their fear. Their technology, maybe even our own." Suddenly, their comms crackled. "This is High Command. Rael, Mira, report to the Geneva Corps immediately. Priority, Level 0. They looked at each other. Level 0 was never used, not even during wars. It meant one thing. The galaxy had changed. Within hours, Rael and Mira arrived at the Geneva Corps, Earth's most advanced intelligence center. Giant holograms of the galaxy floated above. Officers moved quickly, tracking signals and starship movements. The director of Black Sun, a woman named Chancellor Voss, stepped forward. "We've detected something," she said, her voice low. 3 days ago, deep space sensors picked up a burst of quantum energy. Same pattern as the Fang's teleport, but much larger. Rael frowned. "Where?" She pointed to a star system near the edge of the galaxy. "Sector 39. Dead space. No colonies. No traffic. Until now." The bus screen zoomed in. A strange object hovered above a frozen planet. It was massive, like a city floating in orbit. Sharp towers, black metal, blue fire swirling underneath. Rael squinted. That's not Varnock. That's not human either, Voss nodded. We believe it's Kirill technology. Rael's heart sank. You mean the observers? I thought they were myths. They were, Voss replied. Until now. Mira stepped closer. What do they want? Voss looked directly at her. We don't know, but they've sent a message. Everyone in the room fell silent as a voice played, strange, cold, and echoing like wind through a canyon. You have awakened the broken one. The cycle must not repeat. Prepare for judgment. No one moved. No one spoke. Then Rael said, The Fang. It's the broken one. That means this has happened before. Voss nodded. We searched old records. Long before the Varnock rose, the Kirill fought something similar. A weapon that broke free. A clone of a powerful being. The last time, it destroyed 3 star systems before it was stopped, Mira whispered. They made it again. Through us. Through the Varnock. Through Rael. Everyone turned to him. Rael didn't speak. He was thinking of something else. The Fang said, You are the middle. I am the end. He looked at Mira. What if I wasn't the only match? What if the Fang has a purpose we don't understand? At that moment, another alert rang out. A human colony in the Orion sector was under attack. But it wasn't by the Varnock. The screen showed broken cities, burning skies, and strange creatures moving through the smoke. Tall, armored, glowing with red veins. Fang copies, dozens of them. Rael stepped back in shock. They're multiplying! Mira's face turned pale. They're building an army! The council room filled with shouting voices, plans, defenses, retreat, but Rael stood calm. Then he said something no one expected. We can't run. The room went silent. He continued. This war was started by shadows, by fear. The Kirill knew. The Varnock tried to stop it. And we, humans, we may be the key to ending it. But not with more weapons. Voss looked at him. Then how? Rael stared at the hologram of the Fang army. We find the original Fang, and we talk to it. Everyone stared. You want to talk to a weapon? Voss asked. Rael's voice was cold but steady. No. I want to talk to the part of it that's still human. In the dark corners of the galaxy, the original Fang stood on a black platform watching the stars. Copies of itself moved below, silent, deadly, and loyal. But it did not give them orders. It was waiting. And then it heard a voice in its mind. Soft, familiar, Rael's voice. I'm coming for answers. The Fang tilted its head. Then I will wait. The black sun ship cut through the dark space near the edge of the galaxy. Inside, Rael stood in full armor, not for battle, but for survival. This was not a mission to destroy. This was a mission to understand, to talk. Mira sat beside him, checking systems. You sure about this? Rael nodded. If we go in guns blazing, we lose. It wants answers. I think it doesn't even understand what it is. The ship approached the dark structure floating over the icy planet. It wasn't a base. It was a nest, metal grown like roots pulsing with red light. Fang copies moved across it like insects, but none attacked. The ship landed. Rael stepped out, alone. He walked across the black platform, every footstep echoing in the frozen silence. The Fang was waiting, taller than before, sharper, its eyes glowing like red fire. But it didn't move. Rael stood still. I'm here. The Fang tilted its head. Why? You asked for me, Rael said. I didn't ask, the Fang replied. I remembered. Rael nodded. You and I, we share something. DNA, thought, pain. The Fang stared. I am not you. Rael stepped closer. No, you are what I could have become. If I had been made in a lab, raised in war, fed only hate. Silence. Then, the Fang said, I killed, I destroyed. But now, I hesitate. Why? Rael took off his helmet. Because there's still something human inside you, even if it's just a memory, a shadow. The Fang's voice shook. They made me to be a weapon. Rael replied. They made me too. The wind howled through the broken towers. Rael continued. But I chose something else. You can too. The Fang stepped back. Its hands trembled. I don't know how. Rael reached forward. Slowly. We start by ending this together. Suddenly, a blast of energy shook the sky. Blue fire lit up the clouds. The Kariel had arrived. Their ships hovered above the nest. A voice echoed from the heavens. The broken one must be destroyed. The cycle must end. Rael shouted, Wait! It's changing! It's not a threat anymore! But the Kariel didn't listen. They opened fire. The Fang looked up. They will kill us both! Rael stared into its red eyes. Then fight with me. For the first time. The Fang nodded. It raised its arms, and its army froze. Then it sent a command. Stand down, the Kariel beams hit. But a shield appeared over the nest. Not built by the Fang and Rael, linked by neural sync. Mira's voice came through the comms. Rael, what are you doing? I'm ending this, he replied. He spoke to the sky. We understand now. We won't repeat the past, but... The Kariel sent one last message. It is not your decision. The sky tore open. A final Kariel weapon, massive like a moon, descended. The Fang turned to Rael. Let me go. I'll stop it, Rael shouted. No, we do this together. The Fang looked at him, then smiled. A strange, small smile, the first and last. You gave me something they never did, choice. It turned and leapt into the sky. It flew into the weapon, arms wide. A massive explosion ripped through the sky. The energy wave passed over the galaxy. Then silence. The Kariel ships powered down. Rael stood on the black platform, alone again. Mira landed nearby and ran to him. What happened? Rael whispered. It made a choice. Later, back on Earth, Rael stood in front of the United Earth Council. Everyone waited. He spoke. We always feared weapons, feared power. But the greatest threat was never the weapon. It was those who gave it no choice. He paused. The Fang wasn't a monster. It was a mirror of us, of our past. And in the end, it broke the cycle. The room was silent. Then applause. The war had not just ended. It had changed everything. The Kariel never attacked again. The Varnock signed a new treaty. And humanity? Humanity grew stronger, not because of fear, but because they learned one truth. Even the darkest weapon can choose the light.